Hey there, it's your MC operator here, and today we're going to do the number 3 in our series of Basic Gun 101. The first two videos were pretty much about safety and also about the grip. So if you haven't watched those, it might behoove you to go back and watch those first. But obviously, you can watch this one and also circle back and then watch this one again. But anyway, we are talking about, and this is really geared towards the new gun owners. Due to this pandemic and social uprising, we all know the uptick in firearm purchases have been kind of off the charts. So this is really geared towards people who are new to the firearm industry and new to gun ownership. And now they have this beautiful shiny firearm at home and wonder, okay, what do I do with it now? So obviously safety is important. That was the first video. Grip is also important. That was video number 2. But today we're going to talk about your first trip to the range. Now, first and foremost, I really feel that you should have a instructor take you to the range and really be able to help you with your first few trips and get your base squared away. Too many people will basically feel like they can sort of just buy this firearm, put it in the drawer, and then rise to the occasion when necessary. Again, I don't believe that's true. What I really believe is more the fact that you're in a heightened situation. You're really going to lower to your lowest form of training. So if you don't get trained by an instructor, and it is a perishable skill as well, so maintain that by grinding in what you've learned, going to the range, practice. All those things are absolutely imperative to really being a intelligent and responsible gun owner. So anyway, let's talk about your first trip to range. So I'm outside, but I am going to gear this towards your first indoor range experience because it's definitely different. The environment is it breeds anxiety. There's loud sounds, there's concussions of other firearms all around you. You're dealing with something that's dangerous, and so basically everything sort of becomes heightened. So I want to give you some good tips to really make your first experience a good one. So anyway, caveat to that is go with an instructor on your first couple times and have them train you. But enough said on that. But right now we do have a couple of firearms here. So we have downrange is right down this way. So we already know where the range is. Our firearms are locked open. We will pull the magazines. So we have nothing in the magazines. And we're also going to talk proper nomenclature. These are not clips. These are magazines. And in California, all of our magazines are no more than 10. So the normal Glock 19, if we were using standard magazines, would be 15, but we're in California, so this is 10. And again, the CZ-P01, their normal standard magazine is 14 rounds, but again, we're in California, so this is also 10. So I've kind of set this thing up as if we were at the range. So this would be the bench for your firearms to shoot down range. Back behind us, we have our back bench. And so one thing that we want to make sure we do is we always keep our firearms pointed down range. We can load from the back if we choose to, but everything else has to make sure we keep it in a safe direction. So one thing we want to make sure we don't do on the range is talk to you. What? I'm sorry, what? That would be considered flagging, and it's a very unsafe and could easily get you kicked off the range, and it's just not a good idea. Also, too, before your first trip to range, one thing I really suggest is that you look into hearing protection, electronic hearing protection. Now they do have rentals for you at the ranges, but they are usually the very basic hearing protection. They're not electronic, so they're not going to protect you from different sounds. But if you buy electronic hearing protection, when you're talking to whoever you might be with, whether it be your friend, your spouse, hopefully your trainer, you guys can maintain just a very normal conversation, but it'll still protect you from the loud concussions going around you. So it'll allow you to hear them and they can hear you, and it makes for a much more of a productive range trip. Because one thing that happens if you don't have hearing protection that's electronic, you'll be tempted to sort of pull the hearing protection off to, hear what the person is telling you next, and you're endangering your long-term hearing. So definitely invest in your craft. You can find these online. What I suggest you do is, I always tend to, when I'm explaining to somebody about the hearing protection, I usually send them a link to the top 10 hearing protections of ... year. Usually I'll go back a year before, or maybe even 2 years before, because they're still very solid, but you're not paying for the brand new iteration of that company's hearing protection and paying, X amount of dollars more than you have to. So, I always kind of send a couple years back or the previous year, top 10, and then let them choose, kind of what fits their fancy in that same process. Another thing I suggest people do when they're going to the range, everybody wants to fill the magazine up right away. And I would not suggest that. When you're a brand new shooter, obviously if you're with an instructor, follow their lead and they'll guide you through it. But if you do happen to decide to go with your buddy or just take a chance and go by yourself, when you load the cartridge in the magazine, load one. And the reason why I say just one for a while is because when you load that cartridge into the chamber and you take your firearm downrange and you fire that first shot, it definitely can, again, heighten the situation and your anxiety. And, if you have more than one round, you might, flinch and, discharge another round into the ceiling or near you. Until you get used to it, one round is not a bad idea. Just until you get comfortable with grip, sight alignment, target, press, follow through, finger out, back, and then down. You want to make sure that you're good with that whole process before you put a lot of rounds in the magazine, just for your own safety, because if you do happen to send one errantly and it heads into, the rafters, there's a good chance that you're at a range that has a mechanical, way to move the targets. And if you discharge a round into that, mechanism, you might be looking at a $500 to $1,000 repair. And I'm sure you can think of doing something a little more productive with your money. So a good thing to think about is always keeping the muzzle and the firearm level. I liken it to when you learn how to drive for the first time, and you've got your hands at 10 and 2, and somebody talks to you and you want to turn the wheel. Okay, well, that obviously is going to take that firearm offline. But also, too, a lot of people tend to sort of inspect their firearm, and they're looking at it, and they look at the grip, and next thing you know, they're putting it in all kinds of different directions. Well, if you happen to utilize bad uh, trigger safety and happen to look around and slip that hand in the trigger well and launch one, again, you're responsible for any round you put downrange in any direction. So we want to make sure that we never put our finger in the trigger well, and we never send one downrange until we have quiet our sights and it's actually right on what you're shooting at, or what you want to shoot at. So also too, one way to be successful on the range is knowing which eye you're dominant in. So, a good way to do that is just take something off in the distance, and just naturally just point at it. Well, okay, if you're right-handed, obviously you just point at it with your right hand. And once you just point at it naturally, just close your right eye, open it up, close your left eye, and depending on which one jumps and which one doesn't will determine what is your dominant eye. And then for me, my dominant eye is my right eye. Now, our long-term goal is to shoot with both eyes open. That's the ultimate goal, because you don't want to lose things that are in your peripheral. But in the short term, while you're learning, and even when you are shooting with both eyes open, you still want to just present that firearm. You want to keep it level downrange, and you want to cheat more towards your dominant eye. And then once you have your grip, just push it right out under your dominant eye, and whatever your sighting system is, this one is a RDO, a red dot optic. So obviously I would put that dot right on my target. Once I have my target, I would go ahead and send one downrange. And again, get in the habit of bringing it right back level, but not askew. Just bring it back level, finger back in the safety spot, and then down. We need to be absolutely consistent and in the moment the full amount of time you have a firearm in your area. Lapses in concentration are where bad things happen. So we want to be present 1,000% until we put these away, lock them down, and put them away. So with that being said, one thing that we also wanted to make sure we're really aware of is malfunctions. So A, you should learn how to take care of your malfunctions, but B, each range will most likely have a range safety officer either on the range with you or available to come assist. So if you're not familiar with how to clear your firearms, you'll definitely want to just set them down, step back, ask for the range safety officer to come assist you, let them clear the malfunction, and then go forward. And a multitude of things can cause malfunctions. It could be your grip. If you're not strong enough on Glocks and really controlling that firearm, that can cause malfunctions. There's an array of things that can cause them. Your firearm could be dirty, just what have you. But knowing how to clear them is important, especially if you're in a situation where you have to defend yourself. If you do have a malfunction, you want to be able to learn how to tap, rack, clear, and get back into the fight as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're a boat dead in the water. So we don't need that. And also, when you're on the range, you'll talk about the stance. The stance is very important, especially when you're beginning. But the caveat to the stance for me is this. the stance is the basis of where you begin. But just with knowing the fact that in any sort of gunfight, you're going to be moving. You don't want to be a stationary target. So having the perfect stance is great for the moment, but just know that that stance is really geared towards giving you a stable shooting platform, but also a platform to be able to move as well, and move without stumbling, and still be able to deploy around at your target while you're moving. So the stance at the beginning, yes, shoulder length apart, feet should be kind of pointed towards your target, knees flexed. We want to be chest over our toes. We don't want the Brokeback Mountain butt in the air, but slightly forward, obviously, and just really sort of control that firearm. We don't want to be pushed back. A lot of people will kind of sit back, and all that does is causes you to go bang, 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 and then have to come back. So we don't want to sit back in our grip. Again, feet shoulder length apart, knees flexed, kind of like, if you ever took martial arts or played sports in the infield, light on our balls of our feet, so that way we can bust one way or the other. Butt out, so it's not tucked up under you, it's just slightly out. And also too, one thing about the neck, if you were to have something loud go off, first thing you do is you're going to protect your neck, because there's so many vital things in your necks. So you're gonna kind of protect it. So same thing when you're shooting. You want to have it, just sort of not exaggerated, but just tucked in there and then out. All that kind of gives you a stable platform to really settle in and control this firearm, because in all reality, this thing is going to really try to escape in any way possible. But with the proper grip, good firm hold, nice, steady, solid stance, you're in control. The firearm is not in control. But that's pretty much, kind of what I want to talk about today, And so just really to recap, I can't tell you how important it is to seek out instruction, to maintain a training regimen, because it is a perishable skill. You want this to be something that when you grab it, it doesn't feel like some sort of foreign entity. At home, you want to dry fire practice. If you're dry firing, obviously we want to make sure that all the ammunition and anything that can really cause a problem is in a different room. Obviously today we're at the range per se, so I brought up my practice ammunition. But when you're at home, put all your ammunition elsewhere in another room, and then just work with the practice rounds. Make sure that you double, triple check that your firearm is empty. And then still, we're gonna treat it like it's loaded. We're gonna find the safe direction where there's not in any way, shape, or form that you can hurt somebody that you care about, or even hurt somebody that you don't care about, because you don't want that problem either. But always stay 1,000% in the moment, because the minute you take these things for granted, that's when bad things happen, and that's when the term "my bad" is not really going to help you. So again, always outside the trigger well. This is home for me. I feel perfect when my finger's here. So it's not until I actually have acquired my target that I even think about going into the trigger well. So that's it for today. So again, I just wanted to make sure that we are really taking this step by step. Again, thank you for your subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed, please take a moment to think about doing so. I really appreciate those who support me. Likes are super important, because that helps my videos get out and share it out. I like to thank the gun stores that support me, Integrity Arms, and of course the Stockton Gun Exchange. I grow because of you, so I appreciate you. The support of my family, my beautiful wife and friends, and of course this beautiful fly that's dancing around me. Anyway, it's your MC Operator signing out. Thank you very much. Take care now.